Hi, everyone. Good to see your faces. Good to see you all. Thank you so much.
Hola a todas, es muy lindo verlas aquí, gracias a todas.
Happy New Year. We're already 1 month in, and it still seems new, huh? Are y'all still writing 2025 on everything? No? Okay. We're gonna get started here in 1 more minute, and I'll start adding people, and we are gonna do breakout rooms for translation. So as soon as we get everybody in, then we will start the instructions for interpretation. Okay.
Vamos a esperar un minutito más, esperando que se unan más personas y apenas pase ese minutito vamos a estar explicando las instrucciones para la interpretación, ya que vamos a tener canales separados para eso, ¿sí?
Okay, so we are going to do instructions. I'm going to show the slides, and I'm going to back out of slides and then come back in once we set up the interpretation, okay? So y'all just bear with us. I'm gonna go ahead and run the slides so that we can explain. So we're gonna do the live interpretations. So it's going to be interpreted live in Spanish for those Spanish speaking providers. So in a moment, we're going to open up the Spanish room. When we do that, you will see a globe at the bottom of your screen. When you see that globe, please either select English or Spanish. Even if you're continuing to listen in English, please manually select English. That way you'll be able to hear any questions that are coming um, from the Spanish speaking providers from the Spanish interpretation. You won't be, right? Okay. And then, sorry about that. And then if you are you calling from a device, or if you're signing on from the device, you would need to select the three dots at the bottom of the screen to reach the English or Spanish selection area. Let us know if you have any issues with that or questions, and be sure to select a language. Again, everybody coming in, if you could please add your name and PDS number, I just want to put that in there. And so now I'm going to ask our interpreter, Sol, to give the instructions in Spanish.
Gracias, Melinda. Buenas tardes para todos. El día de hoy vamos a tener interpretación simultánea al idioma español. En un momento se va a estar encendiendo el sistema de interpretación. Cuando se encienda, ustedes van a ver el icono del globo terráqueo si están ingresando desde una computadora en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Allí tienen que hacer clic en el globo de interpretación, van a ver los idiomas disponibles y deben seleccionar español y les recomendamos que apaguen o silencien el audio original. Next, please. En el caso de que estén ingresando a través de cualquier tipo de dispositivo móvil o teléfono, en vez de ver el icono del globo terráqueo, van a ver tres puntitos, tienen que seleccionar la opción de más, van a interpretación de idiomas y eligen el idioma español y recomendamos, como ya dijimos, silenciar el audio original. Y por favor, no se olviden de poner en el chat su nombre completo y su número de PDS. Vamos a iniciar el sistema ahora. Thank you, Melinda.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so we can start the interpretation. And then Sol, if you can give me
I am here.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you are here. Okay. I cannot see Sol. Where is Sol? Now I can't see her. Okay, there you go. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and pull up my screen again. And now we're going to go ahead and get started. We are here today for record keeping. So we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so welcome everybody. My name is Melinda Escobar. I am an associate with Civitas Strategies, and I want to welcome you to today's webinar. It's going to be on bookkeeping and record keeping for childcare businesses. I'm really glad that you could join us today. Um, whether you run a small family childcare or if you have or manage a larger center, having an organized approach to your records is absolutely essential for success. So during our time together, we're going to explore some practical strategies to help you create and maintain an effective record keeping system that works for your specific situation. We're going to cover both, okay? And I understand that bookkeeping might not be the most exciting part of running your childcare business, but I promise that if you have a good system in place, it's going to save you countless of hours, and then, it's going to help you avoid some potential headaches down the road. Okay? So here we go. Before we start, I do have to read our disclaimer that this information contained here has been prepared by Civitas Strategies and is not intended to constitute legal, tax, or financial advice. The Civitas Strategies team has used reasonable efforts in collecting, preparing, and providing this information, but does not guarantee its accuracy, completeness, adequacy, or currency. The publication and distribution of this information are not intended to create, and receipt does not constitute an attorney-client or any other advisory relationship. Reproduction of this information and the recording of this content, including the use of AI, are expressly prohibited. Only non-commercial uses of this work are permitted. Okie dokes. That's out of the way. All right. So during our session today, we're going to focus on key areas of record keeping and bookkeeping. Okay. So first, we'll talk about why keeping records is important and the types of records you should be keeping. As childcare providers, there are certain documents that are absolutely essential for the business, right? So next, after that, we'll explore different methods for storing and maintaining your records. And we're going to look at them both digitally and paper-based approaches that can work with your available resources. We also want to talk about bookkeeping, which includes ways to account for monies coming in and going out of your childcare business. Um, so I will also share some practical tips and tricks to help you get started right away, because these are strategies we've seen work well for many childcare providers like yourselves. So by the end of our session, you should have a clear roadmap for setting up a record keeping system that works for you. Okay. Let's start by defining our terms a little. It's easy to confuse bookkeeping and record keeping. They certainly relate, but they're two different things. Bookkeeping is the basic accounting system that you use for all the monies coming in and going out of your childcare business. Every childcare business must have at its heart a basic system of accounting or bookkeeping for costs and revenue. And this can often serve as the first marker of your financial health of your business, okay? A solid and complete record keeping system, on the other hand, that's going to help you easily access your documents when needed, and it's going to save you any worry about misplacing something critical. A thorough record keeping system will also help you find something when you need it or when it's being requested, say, for instance, by a funder or a government representative, right? Licensing comes in and they want to see a document, and if you have a good record keeping system, it's going to be easy to produce that for them. Practically speaking, your clear records allow you to quickly understand your business needs, and it helps you with the day-to-day operations. Okay, we're going to start with record keeping. So let me start by emphasizing something critical. No matter the size of your childcare business, whether you're a solo provider, family childcare provider, or you have a team of teachers and staff in a larger center, maintaining accurate business records is absolutely essential to your success and your peace of mind. Okay. So when your records are organized and complete, you can quickly access whatever you need whenever you need it. So imagine being able to find that important licensing document in seconds rather than digging through piles of boxes and papers, right? A good system means that you'll never have the sinking feeling of wondering where you put something important. We all have our organized mess, right, in the corner, but this is supposed to be better than that organized mess, okay? So beyond the practical day-to-day benefits, solid record keeping gives you a clear picture of your business operations. So you'll be able to see patterns in your enrollment, keep track of your files more accurately, and make better business decisions. When government representatives or potential funders or licensing officials request information, you'll be prepared with exactly what you need. Okay, let's talk about specific records that you should maintain for your childcare business. We recommend um, starting by making a comprehensive list of all the documents associated with your business. So this slide shows many of the essentials, but your specific situation might require some additional records. Okay. For all childcare businesses, you'll need to keep your state and federal tax returns. That's a big one, along with all supporting documentation like receipts and expense reports. This includes any additional forms or communications you've had, like say, for instance, with the IRS. Okay. For those of you with staff, you're going to need to keep your employee records. Keeping those are very crucial. You want to include contact information, timesheets, pay stubs. Those documents both protect you and your employees. Financial records are another major category. So you're looking at your bank statements, insurance documents, contracts, including loans and mortgages, receipts for purchases, customer invoices, and financial statements, because they all tell the story of your business's financial health. And of course, all of your business registration documents, your licensing records, any legal files, those need to be readily accessible. For those with a board of directors, if you have a board of directors, you want to keep your meeting minutes. So those should also be preserved as well. And you don't want to forget about the electronic communications. Okay, so it's important that important emails should also be saved in an organized way. As a general rule for childcare providers, if it's related to your business operations, licensing, or regulations, you want to keep it in an organized, accessible system. Okay, so different kinds of records should be kept for different lengths or time. And some are dependent on the specific needs of your business. So, for example, we recommend keeping all of your tax records for 7 years, the max needed in cases where you're claiming a loss. But the minimum needed at least 3 years from the date you filed the original return, or 2 years from the date you paid the tax, whichever one is later. Okay. Again, 7 years, max needed in cases for latent loss. Minimum needed is at least 3 from the date you filed um, the original return, or 2 years from the date you paid the tax. Okay, I want to repeat that because taxes are important. Okay, accounting documents, including invoices and checks, should be kept for 5 years. Payroll records and printed time cards, if applicable, should be held for between 3 to 7 years, just like your tax records. Other important records and the amounts of time to keep them include personnel files, and those are to be kept for 4 to 5 years. Okay, we've got more coming. Hold on. Past insurance policies and records, those for 3 years. Contracts for 3 years after they've been completed. Annual statements, those should remain in your records indefinitely. Okay. For nonprofits or corporations that complete audit reports, plan to keep those records indefinitely as well. Okay. Um, in addition, it's important to keep all required licenses, permits, sales records, and customer records as long as they are needed for compliance, tax, or operational purposes. So as you can imagine, it can be useful to create a chart or a record retention schedule for your business outlining how long that you should keep copies of each type of document that you have. So even a simple written chart would be useful in keeping everything in order. Okay, once you figure out what records to keep and how long to keep them, how do you keep them is the next big question we will answer. Okay? And you've got some options for storing your records. Okay, you can store them digitally or as paper records. So let's talk about the pros and cons of both these options. Okay, the perks of maintaining digital records are that they don't take up space to store, and there are many free or low cost options that are simple to use. Setting up your digital records can be as simple as saving digital copies or photos of your documents on your computer, taking pictures on your phone that automatically backs up to Google or any other cloud. Okay. Digital storage also offers quick searchability when you need to find a specific record, and the records would also be available remotely no matter where you are. So, this method would also make it easier to share documents between members of your team or with licensing. Some of the cons of digital storing would be the learning curve. If you're not tech savvy, that might be a little bit harder for you to start. If your team is not as tech savvy, so it could take a lot of time to get the system set up and get it running. As much as we love technology, we also know that there are some malfunctions that could happen. So you also need to check um, what maybe your licensing records regulations would be to verify if storing all the types of files is even permitted. Okay, so keep that in mind. Stuff can happen, and then you also want to make sure that it's okay to pull up a document to show your licensing rep instead of wanting them wanting the paper document. Okay, a paper record keeping system, the old school stuff, that's kind of like me. I'm the old school kind of person. But that can be one of the simplest to set up, but it should be clearly organized and labeled to help you quickly find your documents when you need them. Putting them in binders or pockets or, keeping them all together. There are some simple tools that you can use again. Say, for instance, the file folders or the hanging folders, large accordion folders, and then a cabinet storage. Okay, some of the cons of storing your records this way is that you can soon feel overrun with papers and boxes that have to be stored. So it's also harder to get rid of paper records when the time is right. Okay. Either way, whether you're setting up a digital or a paper-based record keeping system, getting everything set up is going to take some time. So an investment of a couple of hours and a few file folders, that's going to give you the peace of mind knowing your records are in order and easily accessible when you need them. I like to see everything nice and pretty with pretty labels. That's just me, so it just makes me feel better. Oh, you want an employee record? Here's a folder. Oh, you want, our playground checklist? Oh, here it is. Okay. So all of those things, it's just easier to find. Um, okay. Creating a records index is a great way to keep track of your records. Think of it like of a table of contents. There's a list of where everything should be. It's like making a map to your filing system. It helps you and then anyone else who might need to find something in your absence locate specific documents quickly. For simpler record system, your index might be as basic as a clearly labeled file section. For instance, you might have sections for licensing, a section for taxes, employee records, and financial documents, with each section containing relevant folders. For more complex records, or if you're using multiple storage methods, you might use a spreadsheet index, where that can be really, really helpful. The spreadsheet would list each important record type, where it's stored, and how to access it. For example, your index might note that payroll information is stored in QuickBooks with paper backup copies in your home office filing cabinet. Okay. An index is particularly valuable if you're ever unavailable and someone else needs to locate important information quickly. It also helps you maintain consistency in your filing system over time, and that ensures that new documents are going to store according to their established organization method. We've discussed what records to keep, we've discussed how long to keep them, and where to keep them. Now let's talk about the ongoing process of maintaining your system. After all, even the most perfectly organized filing system is only useful if you continue to use it consistently. Okay? I understand we buy all these pretty folders and we think, "Oh, we're going to do it," but then we still have our organized mess on the table. And the pretty folders are still there, right? So we want to make sure that if you're going to use a system, or if you try to create a system, that it's one that's going to work for you. Don't take what Melinda says, "Oh, you should do it this way. This is what I do," because Ms. Gwendolyn Miller, who I happen to have had in class sessions, she's not that person. She's not going to use the pink folders. Melinda, I don't like pink folders. So, okay, great. Find a system that works for you. Okay. Um, Maintaining your accurate records for your childcare business is crucial for several reasons. First and foremost, it helps you provide quality care and protect the health and safety of the children in your program by ensuring you have all the necessary information readily available. Good record maintenance also prepares you for unexpected audits or inspections. So when licensing representatives arrive, you'll be ready with all the documentation they request. And then additionally, comprehensive, well-maintained records can help you grow your business. So if you're looking to expand, you're going to have well-organized financial and operational records. And if you have those, that provides the critical information that, say, potential investors might want to look at, or if you're trying to apply for a grant, or if you want to apply for a bank loan. Because what happens is they demonstrate your professionalism and your attention to detail. And that inspires confidence in those who might support your business growth. You have everything organized, they're going to see that and want to do business with you. Now that you understand why it is so important to maintain your records, let's talk about some strategies for maintaining your records over time. First, you want to get in the habit of regular filing, or you might want to assign somebody to that duty, right? But decide on a schedule that works for you and stick to it. Some providers prefer to file documents immediately when they cross their deck, while others set aside time or weekly or monthly to update the records. What matters most is that you find a rhythm that you can maintain consistently. When filing becomes a habit, it's no longer something that you feel burdened with. Okay. Second, keep at least two sets of records stored in different locations. Okay. This redundancy protects your business from data loss due to accidents, natural disasters, or technology failures. For example, you might keep one set at your childcare facility and another at home. Or for one set might be digital while the other is paper-based. Okay? This way, if something happens to one set of the records, you'll still have access to the information you need. Okay? The third thing is to create regular backups of your important documents. For digital records, this might mean using an external hard drive or cloud storage service. For paper records, it could involve scanning important documents or keeping duplicate copies in a separate location. If you use accounting software like QuickBooks, consider printing quarterly reports for your paper files as an additional backup. I want you to remember that your records are the backbone of your business operations. So taking the time to maintain them properly is an investment in your business security and success. Okay, now let's remember the practice. Yes, Ms. Gwendolyn.
I had a question on that.
Okay, We can answer the question, but we're gonna try to hold off on it. I didn't
Okay,
mention it,
okay. Go
but
ahead.
hold that thought. Don't let it go away. Okay. Uh, we're gonna try to remember the practical ways that we went over to help you set up your record keeping system from scratch. Okay. So begin by writing down all the types of records you need to keep your childcare business. Next, to each one, note how long you plan to maintain it based on the what we talked about earlier. Then add how frequently each record needs to be updated. It's always good to keep a little mark there to know some might be weekly, like pay stubs, while others might be updated annually or as needed, like your facility lease, right? So for each document type, specify where it's going to be stored, both the primary location and the backup location. Also note when the document was last updated and what folder name or category it belongs in. Oops, hold on. As you create this chart, pay special attention to security considerations. Some of your records, especially those containing personal information about children, families, or staff, those require extra protection, right? So for paper files containing sensitive information, make sure you use a locked filing cabinet. For digital files, consider password protection. You can also do encryption, or you can do secure cloud services. While security is essential, okay, you want to also ensure that someone you trust can access vital records if you're unavailable. So that might be a business partner, a family member, or a trusted employee. And make sure they know how to find and access important information in case of an emergency. This chart might take some time to complete initially, but it'll serve as a foundation for your entire record keeping system. So just write everything down if you have to. And once you get it all on paper, then you can start to organize it and put it in the sections or the areas that you want to put it in. Okay. Okay. One fantastic tool, this is going to kind of sound weird, but something that we say to say stay on top of your record keeping responsibility is what's called a tickler system. Okay. The approach helps you use your record keeping system not just for historical documentation, but also for planning ahead. So a tickler is essentially a reminder system organized by time period, usually by month or by quarter. And so what you do is you create a folder, either physical or digital, for each time period, and then place inside it reminders and materials for tasks that need to be completed during that time. Okay, so for example, your June tickler folder might contain a note reminding you to prepare your quarterly tax payment, along with the necessary forms and perhaps a copy of last quarter's payment for reference. A January tickler might include reminders about annual license renewals, insurance updates, and tax preparations. Um, you can even use it for just your daily documents. Say, for instance, if you have attendance sheets that need to be filled out, I always put the copy sheet, the one that's used for copy, very end beneath all of them, and I will use a highlighter and I will write copy on the last one. Ever done that? And when you photocopy it, the yellow highlighter doesn't show up in copies. So when they get to the one that says copy on there, they know that's the original. So you can run and make more copies. That one that stays last that says copy on it, that's considered part of the tickler system, right? So what makes this system so effective is that it's cyclical. Okay. Once a time period passes, you process everything in that folder and then move it to the same period for next year. You can also add any new items as you need to. Ticklers can be incredibly helpful for childcare providers because our business involves so many recurring tasks and deadlines. Whether it's license renewals, staff credential updates, or tax deadlines, um, our regular daily documents for our staff, the tickler system ensures that these important dates never catch you by surprise. Okay? So you can set up a tickler system with physical folders in a file cabinet or digitally using calendar reminders, um, electronic folders, or task management apps. Choose a method that works best for you, what works with your personal workflow and what you prefer. Okay? Okay, finally, let's talk about getting help with your record keeping system. Many small or new childcare businesses can't afford to hire a professional bookkeeper. Which makes having your own well-organized system even more important. Even as your business grows and you can bring in outside help, remember that the ultimate responsibility for accurate records still rests with you as the business owner. Okay? So you develop the system and have them follow what you need to have, because if they go away, you still want to maintain that system. Okay, just keep that in mind. Old director experience. I used to be a director too, so ugh, okay, I miss it. I do. Okay, so if you're considering using apps or software to streamline your keeping, there are a few important things to keep in mind. First, you want to be very clear about your specific needs and budget. Childcare businesses have unique requirements, so look for solutions that address those specific needs. And then before committing to a certain app or software, take advantage of free trials or demos to make sure it's something that you're comfortable using. The best system in the world, it's not going to help you if it's too complicated or it's frustrating to use consistently. Okay? Also consider accessibility. If you have staff who need to input information or access records, make sure the solution you choose works for them too. So think about whether you'll need mobile access, multiple user accounts, or other specific features. Some popular options for childcare business includes like QuickBooks for financial records. There are specialized childcare management softwares that can track enrollment and attendance, and simple cloud storage solutions like Google Drive for document management. The right combination for you is going to depend on what you need for your business, your specific needs, what it is for what you need for your budget, and just even your comfort level with technology. I will also promote here one-on-one coaching because we do that. And if you have some questions about how to access some of the stuff, this would be a really good place to get some specialized help. Some of us actually like to do that kind of stuff. I like to do that stuff. Okay. All right. So we're going to transition here to bookkeeping now. And this flows really well from our conversation on record keeping. The records that you are now keeping in an organized system are going to be what you use to track your books. Bookkeeping is the process of tracking and recording a business's financial transactions, right? So there's two basic steps for bookkeeping, okay? First, you want to open a business account, okay? And if that's something you want some guidance on, the Georgia DECAL Thriving Childcare Business Academy has a resource for that. So you want to look that up. Second, adopting a bookkeeping system. Okay. That system is what we're going to go through right now. Okay. We're going to do this in steps. Step one, determine how you will account for your funds coming in and going out. There are two basic methods in accounting. One is an accrual method, which is more complex and is based on when an expense or revenue is taken or accrued. For example, if you're using the accrual method, the moment you receive your credit card bill, the amount owed would be taken from your assets versus when you actually pay the bill. Okay? If you're using the cash method, this method would be taken from your assets when the bill is paid. So the cash method is more common for childcare business and is less challenging as it's based on when things are actually paid or received. Okay. I'll give you an example and then I'll kind of how I think of it. Okay. As an example, let's look at revenues. When a child in your care for a week is in your care for a week, let's say a parent owes you $200. Under the accrual method, that $200 is considered income at that time, even if you don't have the money yet. Okay. So under the cash method, the 200 would be considered income, wouldn't be considered income until the parent gave you the check and you deposited. Okay. All right. And that's just kind of like, let's just say for the accrual method, right? So you know how much you're supposed to get, right? You have this many parents, you know what their fees are. So you know how much you should be getting. So that's when you start to like, okay, well, how much am I going to get? So you can start planning and you start writing it down, right? You write it all down, you add it up. Oh, I should be getting this much, right? That's how I think of it. But you don't in the cash method, you can't really count it until you actually get it and it's in your account, right? And that way, now you say, okay, now I can use this money, okay? So both systems work, right? It's like kind of like a planning, and then you have the actual what money did I get, right? So that's kind of like how I see it when I do that. We get paid on Friday, so I'm already started. Like, what can I do with that money, right? So it's the same kind of thing. And then when I actually get the money, then I'm like, oh, I can't go buy that new bag that I wanted, you know? Oh, okay, I gotta not do what I really wanted there. Okay. So that's just the kind of way that I see it. For most small childcare businesses, the cash method is both simpler and more helpful because it's going to let you know exactly when the money is coming in and out of your account. So this method is more comfortable because it's in many ways it's going to match the act of balancing your checkbook, just a bigger sense and in a bigger way. Okay? I hope that was helpful. Okay, so let's look at step two. Good. I see some nods. You make me feel so much better. Thank you so much. Okay, step two is to decide how you will record your transactions. Okay, so for this, you want to start by listing out the revenue streams that your business has. These are the categories that you'll look to track revenue or money coming into your business. These are some common categories that your business may have, or you might have fewer or slightly different. Okay. Um, you're going to start to see some familiarities if as we go. This is why I love talking about this stuff because it really does start to make sense when you put it into practice. All right. Step three is next is you're going to do the same thing, putting them into categories, but you're going to do your expenses. Okay. So these are some common categories. This can be tempting to break. It can be tempting to break your expenses down into really small, complicated categories, but keep them, we suggest keeping them quite simple, at least in the beginning. And then as you get used to the process and start making it a habit, then you can always add or change your categories later if you need to. Um, I'm so used to this, I break it down because I want to know to the penny. Okay. But if you have, like, say, subscriptions, right? If you have all these subscriptions and you want to lump it into one, okay? Or utilities, how much are you paying overall for utilities? At some point you want to break it down, electric, water, and so on. Okay. Step four is to set up a schedule to review and record your transactions. So you'll want to do this at least monthly. Okay. You'll look through and record all of your revenue sources and then all of your expenses. Okay. It may seem tedious to record each transaction, but it's important in the terms of understanding your profitability by tracking exactly where your money is coming from and where it's going to. Once you've recorded your revenue and expenses for the month, then you will total each category. You'll subtract your expenses from your revenue, and that's going to tell you how much you made in the month, whether that's a profit or if it's a negative, that means that you've had a loss for the time period. So if you're profitable, you may want to consider holding on to some of that profit, leaving it in the business for a rainy day, or to help you pay your bills. Okay. Is this starting to sound familiar? Doesn't this sound like it's turning into a budget, right? And that's my favorite thing to talk about. Even my bosses know. Melinda likes to talk about budgets. I do. Okay. Especially when you start working them and you start to see the money accumulating in your cash reserve and it gets bigger and bigger. Oh, that's fun. Okay. So let's keep talking about this. Here we go. Here are some pro tips. When categorizing and filing your receipts, make sure you label them so you remember what category they've been placed under. Okay. So schedule a regular time to record your receipts. I'm going to give you another tip in here in just a second. Having a schedule is going to save you time and headaches in the future. Leaving all of your expenses and revenue to file up won't be helpful and you won't be able to understand how your business is doing at a moment's notice. If you pile it up, you're not it's likely that you won't even keep up with the system because it's going to become too intimidating to record so many receipts and statements over time. Okay. Yes, we're going to talk about an electronic system, but here, let me start with this. How many of you, just kind of thumbs up from what I can see, how many of you get your receipts all together and then you put them in either like a filing cam or a filing folder or in a box and whatever, just kind of grab them all and just stick them in there, right? How many people do that, right? Okay. Okay. So I know this. Okay, so let me give you a secret on how to organize those receipts. Okay, when you go shopping for groceries, right? You're gonna go shopping for your supplies. We get our funds, right? We get our money. We get our check to go buy supplies, whatever we need for the childcare, right? And we go to, let's just put it as Walmart, okay? So we get all of the stuff that we need and we just pile it on the register, right? And then the lady starts scanning it and you get this really super long receipt, right? And then you fold it up and you stick it in the box, right? Okay. So we know that. Okay, so here's a tip. When you go to the register, put all of your food for the childcare first. Then you put one of those little bars, okay? And then you put all of your supplies, okay? And you put another bar. And then you put your cleaning stuff and you put another bar. And you separate it by sections. And you do this every time you purchase, okay? If you do this once a week, you're going to get 4 receipts, right? Let's just say 4 receipts for the month, right? Guess what happens to those 4 receipts? The okay, when you do that, when you get to that bar, you want to tell the cashier, give me a total, okay? And they're going to give you a total. And then you go on and then you say, give me a total. And then it's going to add up. But then when you get those 4 receipts, they're all going to look the same. So guess what? Your first rows, all you have to do is add 4 times how much you spent on food. All you have to add up is 2 or 4 times how much you spent on supplies. Then you add up how whatever cleaning supplies. Okay, instead of getting this long receipt, right? And then you have to itemize it, right? So then you have to go this one with your highlighter, right? This one's purple, or this is food, this is supplies, this is my hair products, this is the shoes I bought for my son, because we purchased all of those things together. So now we're going to purchase for business in order, and then we do the personal stuff at the end. Okay? So, and that's for family child cares, right? But businesses, of course, it's all business, right? You should start to get that for the month. Then you can clip them and then put them away, right? And that way that way they're organized. Okay? All right. Does everybody see me okay? Because I felt I was a little shaky. Did I freeze or anything? I'm good?
It froze for just a few seconds.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now consider an electronic system, right? That's the next one. It can be tedious to do accounting by hand, okay, but you can use Google Sheets or Excel. And then of course there's online systems. This is for the tech savvy people. Okay. I'm getting there. Okay. I'm not one of those people. So if you're not, it's okay. All right. So if you're gonna look for an online system, think about how easy it is to use. Okay. You also want to look at the cost and the complexity of the system. For us, for those small childcare businesses, you're not going to need something really as detailed as QuickBooks. That's okay. If the software is a pain to use, you're not going to use it and you're not going to want to keep using it. So find something that works for you, okay, that you can handle. Okay, now take photos or scan your receipts. Did you know that you can do that in your phones, right? You can actually scan onto your phone and make it into a PDF and save it, okay? You can use the old, it talks about the shoebox method, but whatever you do, whichever system you use, you want to put everything in one place, okay? So make sure that you hold on to your documentation of any transactions that are used for your bookkeeping system, because this is important in case you're audited by the IRS, right? We don't want to talk about that. So it's also important because it's going to allow you to go back and check your information if needed. So all of these tips are going to help you keep on track, either getting started with bookkeeping or altogether in revamping the system that you're already using. Okay. We are coming to the end of our session, okay? So I do want to thank you. Don't go anywhere, okay? Because I do want to thank you again for taking the time to join us today. But before we close, let's take a moment to review what we've accomplished in our time together. First, we've identified what bookkeeping is, and you should be able to pick a style and a system that you will follow for your business, okay? You should now be able to decide on a new way to store your business records. And also, you can now develop a plan um, to back up your business records. That's really important, right? Okay, so I hope this information has been valuable to you, and I look forward to seeing you again for another Thriving Childcare Business Academy topic in the future. We do um, have those available, and I'm actually going to give you some QR codes and some other things that I want to talk about. So don't go anywhere yet. And then actually, let's open it up for questions, and then I'm going to give you all that stuff. Okay. All right. So now everybody have questions. I see chat.